Good evening and welcome. I'm Margaret Nelson. I'm the Executive Director of the River Center, which is a family and community resource center in Peterborough, serving the Eastern Monadnock region. And tonight on Live United, we are looking at agencies and programs throughout the Monadnock region that are serving individuals in our region. So we're talking about the giving, the volunteering, and the advocating that's going on throughout our region. Tonight I have Larry Schwartz with me, who is our volunteer tax site coordinator at the River Center. And we are going to be talking about taxes. So don't shut off your TV. We are going to talk about taxes, and we're going to make this fun. But first I want to tell you what the River Center is. The River Center is a family and community resource center. We serve the Eastern Monadnock region, and our mission is to strengthen individuals and families, and we do that through parenting support programs and economic opportunity programs, as well as community connections. We have parenting classes. We have home visiting for pregnant women and their babies. We have help with your job search, as well as free tax program, money coaching, and referrals to help people make community connections. So that's kind of an overview of what we do. Let's think about this tax program that we do, Larry. The VITA program, that stands for Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. That is geared towards individuals with low or moderate incomes, and it's free. There are 25 volunteers this year that are helping us make this happen. I think 12 are certified by the IRS to do the income tax returns, and the rest of them are greeting the public that comes in to get their taxes done. So we're in the 8th year of doing this at the River Center. It's a very important program, and so we want to talk about this. So Larry, the thing that I think people are interested in is, why do you do this? You are the only person I know that gets genuinely excited about taxes. So tell us what motivates you to work with this as a volunteer year after year.
Sure, and I do get that question asked a lot. I have two primary motivations. One is to help save people money, and the other is to make sure that their tax returns are prepared completely, efficiently, and with a goal towards getting all the credits and benefits that they are entitled to, and in the process even do a little money coaching and advising them on various ways that they can improve their financial lives. And eventually we strive to coach them on asset building and saving and just making really good decisions in their financial life.
I have seen you when you just get really excited when you have been able to complete someone's taxes and they're getting back some healthy returns, so refunds. So let's talk about that. How many tax returns were completed by our volunteers through the River Center program last year?
For the 2013 tax season, we completed 765 tax returns.
And how much did they, if you added all of their refunds together, how much came back to them in refunds?
We're pretty proud of this. For the third year in a row, we exceeded $1 million in total refunds for the taxpayers that come through our doors. For 2013 tax filing season, it was $1.15 million. And this averages out to about $1,500 per return, but it varies quite a bit from return to return. We've had returns in the $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 range, refunds, I should say.
And some people, of course, are actually having to pay money to the IRS when they get their return
Yes,
done, and some people are getting a substantial return.
The people who end up owing are the people we see in the last week of the filing season, towards
They
April
don't rush
15th,
in to get their taxes
because they
done.
pretty much know.
Yeah, yeah.
But I wanted to clarify one other thing about, and it's true that I really do get joy from preparing the tax returns and seeing the results and how much the people appreciate what we do for them. And we make it as pleasant as we possibly can. But all of the volunteer preparers that help us at the River Center seem to me to get the same amount of joy. So it's not just me. It's just a really good feeling to be helping people in this way.
Well, and part of the purpose of this show that the Monadnock United Way sponsors is to talk about volunteerism. And this is a fabulous volunteer program from the River Center. And I found that true, that there are so many of the volunteers are so excited about helping out with the tax season each year, and many of them return to do it year after year.
I did want to mention that, and this is how I know that they are truly enjoying it, because they keep coming back every year. Not all of them, of course, because other things happen in their lives that they just can't spare the time, but they all want to. And I have a core group of 6 preparers out of the other 11 that I'm using this year that have been with me for 7 years.
Wow, that really speaks to the program, and it's really exciting, and the energy is out there for this year.
And they keep coming back in spite of the fact that every year they have to take a rigorous exam from the IRS in order to be certified. And it changes every year. This year we have the Affordable Care Act adding some new wrinkles to the questions we have to ask and the forms we have to use to prepare the return properly and completely.
And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But so if someone were to come to the River Center to get their taxes done, they could expect that they would have a fully qualified tax preparer helping them with their taxes.
Absolutely. As I said, the exams are fairly rigorous, and they cover everything you could imagine that we might encounter, and even things that we never see at our site. Mm-hmm. But it's part of tax law, and it's something we could conceivably see, so the IRS makes sure they cover it. And every year, even though they're basically covering the same topics, they throw curves at us that are pretty challenging, but every preparer gets through this and gets certified to the advanced level.
So, Larry, we all know how much the average American loves to do their taxes, and we all look forward to this time of the year. And why would we want to have someone at the River Center prepare our taxes for free if we could do it ourselves? Why would we want to call the River Center at 924-6800 to get our taxes done?
This is an excellent question, Margaret. And in fact, the IRS every year is encouraging us to encourage our clients to file themselves if they can, if their returns are relatively simple. And many people that come through our doors have just one W-2, they've worked for one employer, and so the returns are fairly simple. And they could go on various websites, depending on their income level, and qualify for totally free tax prep and do it themselves online. But there is a danger in doing that, and the danger is no matter how sophisticated the software packages are that they would use, the software packages cannot know if you make certain types of errors, for example, choosing the wrong filing status, or for example,
A filing status would be I'm filing as single,
Single,
married, or...
married filing jointly, married filing separately,
Okay.
or head of household, or there's even a fifth one, a qualifying widow or widower, that has certain stipulations. And all of these filing statuses that you can choose from have positive or negative aspects to them where the taxpayer is concerned. And very often we see people bring in their prior year tax returns where they claim single filing status because they are divorced, but they have a child living with them or children living with them where they really should have filed as head of household.
And these are things the average person just wouldn't know, and the software, when you go to do it yourself online, they aren't going to know either that,
No.
that this is inappropriate. But your
Exactly.
volunteers know this.
We are trained to know that. And just to give a brief example of the difference it can make between single and head of household, if you're renting and do not have enough other deductions to itemize your deductions on a Schedule A, your standard deduction would be $6,200 filing single. But if you file as head of household, your standard deduction would be $9,100. So that's a substantial difference in the amount of money being subtracted from your earned income, leaving a certain amount as taxable income.
So you might end up paying more taxes than you needed to.
You would definitely end up paying more taxes if you did have some taxable income left over.
So in other words, I'd really benefit from coming and getting someone to do my taxes that knows what they're doing, and to be able to do it at no cost to myself would be a wonderful thing for me to be able to do.
And there's even a more dramatic and substantial reason that's similar to the making the wrong decision on a filing status, but what we find every year is single parents coming through and not even telling us about children that should be on their return because they think that as long as someone else is claiming that child as a dependent, that it can't be on their return. But if they are the custodial parent and that child is living with them in their household, very often that child can be put on their return and qualify them for certain benefits that only the custodial parent can get. And this is one of the biggest misconceptions that we see with the general public when they go to a preparer and identify their dependents or the people that should be on the return with them.
So one of the things I've learned as I've learned a little bit more about the tax program and the people that you see and are able to help is that we make a lot of assumptions based on what we think we've heard people say about taxes, and we may make some bad assumptions, and that it's very helpful to be checking in with somebody who really knows what they're talking about. And this tax program at the River Center is helpful to people because it doesn't cost anything, and it is free. So talk about, there's something called earned income tax credits.
Yes.
And I don't really understand what those are. So can you tell us what is an earned income tax credit and who would get that and benefit from it?
I'd be happy to try and explain it. It gets a little complicated, but one thing to remember that everyone should understand is that the word earned is in the title of this credit for a reason. It is based on earned income, and it was originated with the purpose of encouraging people to get out there and earn some income in order to qualify for this credit. The credit actually was first introduced in about 1975, and then it was expanded in scope during the Reagan years, and it's even expanded further in the last decade because for most of those years, the maximum number of children that you could use to claim for the earned income tax credit, which is largely based on having children on the return, would be 2 children, and few years ago, they expanded it to 3 children. So now, if you do have 3 children or more, you can claim this earned income tax credit for up to 3 of those children, and the credit can be substantial. It is income-based, and the theory being that if you don't earn any income, no matter how many children you have, you would get 0 in earned income tax credit because you didn't presumably make an effort to go out there and earn some income. As you get up into $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 earned income, the benefit keeps increasing up to a maximum for single parent or married couples. The income range in the teens, that's where you would get the maximum benefit. And with 3 children, for 2014, it can be high as $6,143 of a bonus credit tacked on at the end of the return. And the purpose of all of this is to provide some additional monies for people who would otherwise struggle earning only $12,000, $13,000, $14,000, $15,000 a year. That's pretty hard to live on these days. So this is some additional money that's out there as an incentive to go out and earn enough money to qualify for the credit. As you get up into higher earnings, 20,000 or more, then the credit starts to go down, and eventually it vanishes at higher income levels. So it is on a curve, but for many of our single parents, they qualify for at or near the maximum benefit.
Now let me see if I understand this. So if I made $15,000 last year waitressing, and I have 3 children, you might determine that I qualify for earned income tax credit. I might not owe any taxes, correct? Because I didn't really earn, my tax bill, so to speak, might be nothing. But this income tax credit, the earned income tax credit, would be money coming to me?
This is where it gets a little complicated, and I don't want to get into too many numbers because it gets into mathematics and a little confusing.
And my head will start aching, Larry.
But I can tell you fairly simply that if a single mom waitressing earns $15,000 in a year, and there are 3 children in the household, and they have to be living with her at least 6 months of the year to qualify for the credit, and she's actually also claiming those children, well, between a standard deduction of $9,100 and a total of 4 personal exemptions of $3,950 each, she's going to have more deductions than the $15,000 income. So she will end up with 0 taxable income and therefore 0 income tax.
Yes.
But then now, as a refundable credit, which is what the earned income tax credit is, and that means that it's a credit that can be applied to your tax return whether you owed any tax or not. And that would be a maximum of $6,143. In addition, if that single parent is claiming those children, there's child tax credit money available too. And that is a credit that is available until the child turns 17. It doesn't mean you automatically get it, because for that credit, you must earn at least $3,000 in the year. For the earned income tax credit, you start getting it even if you've only earned $500, you get something. But you get no child tax credit until you've cleared that $3,000 hurdle. But then it's potential of $1,000 per child.
So one of the things that you've encountered, I know, because I've heard you speak of it, is that if you are working cleaning houses and you're being paid cash, or you're getting personal checks from people and you're not, it's very important that you keep track of your total income, because it may work to your benefit when tax season comes. Sometimes we think, well, it might push me up over a certain level, but there's so many income tax credits that might come to an individual who's keeping track of this closely. So it works into our benefit. Is that right?
Yes. Taxpayers out there, they all have to be careful of what they listen to and who they listen to, because they all talk to their friends. They'll talk about this, not much because it's boring, but
No, Larry, this is so exciting.
but when they have to, when tax time comes around, they will talk to their friends and get advice, but it's more often wrong than it is correct advice. And here's one of my favorite stories from a few years back. A single mom came to our site. She had 2 children. They did live with her more than 6 months of the year. And she made some money waitressing, approximately $4,000. And then she told me that she made a few more thousand cleaning houses. So 4,000 plus 3,000, that's 7,000. First of all, I wondered how she could possibly live on that and feed her children. And second, $7,000 is not up to the peak of the curve. So I took the time to talk to her some more and try to convince her that if there was any other money that she earned during the year, she needs to tell me because it might be to her benefit. We had stopped at that point on the return, and so far she was getting a refund of about $1,400. That's when she told me that her friends told her not to claim that cash income because she'd have to pay taxes on it. Well, I squeezed more income out of her. She really did earn more cleaning houses, and she got up to about $13,000 total income. Mm-hmm. In other words, about 9,000 cleaning houses and 4,000 waitressing. And now her refund jumped from $1,400 up to over $3,200. So these are the things we encounter, and this is why I think it's very important for people to come to the River Center and to call that 924-6800 number during tax season, because we will take the time to ask the right questions to make sure that all the children in your household are getting on the tax return and that any income you have is being reported, because the earned income tax credit goes up faster than the self-employment tax.
That's great. That's great to know, because one of the things that we know on a statewide, if not national basis, is that 22 to 25% of individuals that could be qualifying for earned income tax credits do not claim it. Is that right, Larry?
This is what we're told by the IRS themselves.
Yes.
And it seemed to be fairly consistent every year. I'm pretty sure it's going down in New Hampshire because of our efforts. But people ask me, how could that be that this credit, this fabulous credit, is out there and available to people, and maybe a fourth of the people that could get that credit, could qualify for it, are not getting it? And the 2 major reasons are that several people we've talked to, that we talked into coming in that weren't going to, thought they should not file a tax return because they didn't make enough. Mm-hmm. And in general, it is kind of known out there, and this could be accurate information from your friends if they tell you that if you made under $10,000, you don't need to file. That is generally true. But if you made $8,000 and have children living with you and can qualify for some of these credits, then you better file, because there's a lot of money on the table.
That's good. That's good wisdom. What if?
Wait,
yes.
There's
Okay.
something else.
Yes.
The other reason that people don't get the credit is because either they file the return themselves, and as I said before, they don't put a child on the tax return because someone else is claiming that child, and they think that, well, I can't have that child on my return. But again, if you're the custodial parent, you can put that child on your return, not as a dependent, as a non-dependent, and qualify for the credit. And so if people file themselves, or even if they go to some other preparer who doesn't want to take the time and ask the questions and draw that out of them, that they do have more children in the home, then they'll miss out on substantial benefits.
That's good. It is, sometimes life gets to us and an income tax return was not filed for a given year. And maybe that's happened a couple of years in a row because, well, we don't want to file income tax because we don't have any money to pay any taxes. And so then one day we get a terrifying letter from the IRS in the mail, and they tell us we owe thousands and thousands of dollars in penalties and fees. Can you help somebody who gets that sort of terrifying letter from the IRS?
Yes, we can, and we do. It wasn't planned this way, but it's come to pass that our site in particular has come to specialize in doing prior year tax returns. And since we're one of only 2 VITA sites that's open year-round.
In New Hampshire.
In New Hampshire, thank you. And the IRS knows that, so if people call during the summer after they receive one of these letters, then they're typically referred to us. And so every summer I'm doing sometimes 4 or 5 years tax returns for people that come to us. And very often, as you say, the IRS is indicating that they owe quite a bit in tax and in penalties and interest. But that's because the IRS will do the return for you after a couple of years, and they will do it in the worst possible way. And they don't know about some of the benefits that you might qualify for. So very often when we do those 3, 4, 5 years of tax returns, we actually end up getting the taxpayer a refund and eliminating everything that...
You have a nice story about that, don't you?
I have several stories.
Many stories.
Yes,
but
yes. One of the reasons that I indicated that some people in that 20-25% group of not getting the earned income tax credit that they might qualify for, I said that it's because they don't file a tax return because their income's so low. So several years ago, I had a woman call me, and she didn't think she needed to file, and some friends had told her she didn't need to file, but she just wanted to check. She said she only made $500 for the year. Mm-hmm. And had I been in a hurry to get onto something else, I might have said, oh yeah, that's well below the threshold, you don't need to file. But I took the time to ask more questions, and I first learned that she had 2 children, ages 10 and 11, living with her in her home. So now I know she's a single mom and could file as head of household. Then I further learned eventually that she was actually still married and her husband was living in another town. But they were on friendly terms, and I saw the possibility of putting them back together to file jointly, which is perfectly legal. They're still married. And when her $500 was combined with his income of about $25,000, they qualified for a significant earned income tax credit, plus the child tax credit. And then I found out that they've been doing this for several years, filing separately. Mm-hmm. Or she wasn't filing at all. So I went back and amended 3 prior year returns, and between the current year and the returns that I amended, the total refund amount that came to them was in excess of $20,000.
Wow. That is a lot of money to have sitting on the table.
And I can't imagine that that would have happened had they called anybody else.
Wow, that's a great story. And of course, everyone is not going to get $20,000 back. But as I said before, we make these assumptions about what we know about taxes, and those of us who are not tax experts can make bad assumptions and have bad information that we're basing our actions on. So a really good thing to do is to call the River Center at 924-6800. You can go to an email at info@rivercenter.us. You can also call 211. 211 is the statewide information throughout the state. They will connect you with the closest free tax program available to you wherever you live. Let's see what other things we want to talk about. What is, someone comes, they call up, they make an appointment to come and have their taxes done. What's a fun client for you that's coming in? What have they brought with them? What's that like?
We seem to enjoy almost everybody that comes in, and but we strongly prefer those that come in with all their information and the appropriate Social Security cards for themselves and dependents, so we can verify their identities, photo IDs, and so forth. And if they have any deductions, for example, if they're itemizing with mortgage interest, real estate taxes, charitable donations, medical expenses, that they come in with a fairly well organized. We've had to send some people home temporarily who are self-employed and come in with a shoebox full of receipts and expect us to add those up. We are not an accounting service, but we're glad to advise them on how to tabulate these expenses and which ones to count in which category. And we even do a little coaching for self-employed people on record keeping, bookkeeping, that sort of thing.
Wonderful.
Any way that we can help them at all. But we expect people to come in, be pleasant, be prepared, and appreciate what we do for them, because it is substantial.
So how would a person getting in touch for this? We ask individuals to call the River Center at 924-6800 to make an appointment, and at the time when they're being scheduled for their appointment, they'll be told what sort of paperwork they need to bring with them, and they can ask their questions then, and they make an appointment, they show up, they're greeted by one of our volunteer greeters, and they will then spend about 45 minutes with the tax preparer, who is a volunteer, and all of the returns are looked over by you to make sure that everything has been done correctly.
That's true. I have the responsibility to make sure that our quality standards are high and that everything's done properly. And so for me to feel like I've done that job, I do a quality review on every single return that's prepared at the River Center. And for the 2013 filing season, that was 765 returns. And then when I'm satisfied that everything is correct, then we create an e-file and file that return electronically. There are times when a return has to be filed a paper file because other documents have to be attached, but that's relatively rare these days. We pretty much e-file every single return, and we encourage people to have their refunds transferred to their checking account electronically. It's faster and safer. This is all part of the service.
So when you're getting a refund back from your taxes, most of us are very interested in getting it as soon as we can. About how much time does it take for that refund to show up in our bank account if we've chosen to have it automatically placed in our account?
Over several years, it's been running 7 to 10 days. And that's significant for people to know that, because we know that some people will go to other places where they can have their tax return prepared and filed electronically, but there's a way that they can get their refund immediately or almost immediately. But there's a significant fee that they have to pay to do that. We would hope that people are orchestrating their finances and running their lives so that 7 days in their life isn't going to make that much difference. If they can just wait 7 days, they might save several $100s in extra fees by letting us prepare that return instead of going elsewhere.
Sure. So when we did the math and we did 765 tax returns, and that was $1.1 million coming back to them, we figured out, you and I, that it's about $1,500 averaging for a person that comes in and gets their taxes done.
That's the average refund.
And that the average income for these tax returns was about $24,000.
Yes, that's been pretty consistent year after year, but it's a good point to mention here that, because people may wonder, can they qualify for coming to our site? What constitutes low and moderate income? And perhaps they think they make too much and they have to go to a paid preparer somewhere else. The IRS tells us that if your household income is roughly $58,000 or less, that you qualify for the VITA program and the free tax preparation at one of our sites. We try to hold to that, but if someone indicates a particular hardship, we try to accommodate people who really need our help, and it would be a hardship for them to go to a paid preparer. So we try to consider the particular situation of the taxpayer, and we try to hold to the guidelines, but it's not a hard and fast number.
So when in doubt, give a call.
Yes, they should call.
That's one of the
big. We'll talk about it.
Sure. One of the things that we do at the River Center is we have money coaching, which is also a free service, and oftentimes getting your taxes done makes you sort of realize that you need some help making the income that you have meet the expenses that you're experiencing. So we would like to encourage folks to also call the River Center at 924-6800 to set up an appointment for money coaching, which is also a free service. And just if you or a friend or a family member is experiencing difficulties, or it's a very, very tight squeeze with finances, or even if you're just feeling like you don't have a good handle on your finances, we would encourage you to give us a call and come in and meet with somebody who can help you. No judgments, just a friendly person who understands finances to help you straighten things out or to think through the steps you need to take. Is there anything else you would like to add?
We have an awful lot of experience in this area, and we feel we can show people what to do if they've built up some credit card debt, if they're struggling to make ends meet. We have a tremendous amount of experience with helping people with budgeting and planning and making better decisions in their lives, showing them where they can get the same products or services for less money. A whole range of things that we've learned over the years that we're anxious to share with whoever needs that kind of help.
So there's no need to go on it by yourself. There is help out there. And all of us at some point or another throw our hands up in despair and go, I don't know what to do right now. And that's one of the things we do at the River Center. So if you would like some help with your taxes or money coaching, call 924-6800. Go to our website at www.rivercenter.us or email us at info@rivercenter.us. You can also call 211, and that will bring you to the River Center as well, or other income tax sites throughout the
sites
state.
Throughout the state, right?
So thank you very much. This has been a Live United section sponsored by Monadnock United Way, who is interested in promoting the programs throughout the region that talk about giving, volunteering, and advocating in the Monadnock region. Thank you very much.